Welcome back to the show!
Welcome back to the show!
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Gold.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan, a very special late-night Saturday edition. Usually we come at you Sunday afternoon, but we have a pay-per-view to talk about. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Of course, I'm never wrong, Nick Bull. I'd be remiss if I did not introduce you to my co-partner, we are co-champs of the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Network. He is the one, he is the only, he is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing, bud?
Man, I am feeling good. What a good show we just watched. And, of course, we're here on the For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. And, Nick, we're not alone on this venture tonight.
We're not. Usually when we do a show in the Highview Studios, we like to make it a little special. When we've got a first-time guest of the show, longtime friend of both CZ and I. He is a good brother. He is brother Kyle Tobias. He is also a contributor for wrestling-online.com. That's right. But also on Twitter. Please welcome Kyle Tobias.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
I know you are. You really contribute more to the show than you know. Just our conversations, really. We're not trying to gyp the viewer or listener tonight, but after this show, we're going to go down some rabbit holes on Peacock. So we're all pumped to that. I'm just very excited to have you here. Thank you. And just moments removed from Backlash,
Yeah.
but merely seconds removed from just what happened before we went live on the show. John Cena in the press conference. We had the captions up, so we could not read what was being said. But you see R-Truth come out of stage what would have been left to Cena, and obviously disagrees with something Cena says.
If I may,
Absolutely.
I'll fill in a little bit of detail.
I'm going to turn the captions back on so we can see if anything happens. I think maybe the captions aren't on during the act, but more on that later.
It looked like R-Truth basically said to him, "I'm a longtime fan," and he said, I know everyone's saying that Cena sucks, you can't wrestle, and he's just kind of saying that. Look, I know everyone's saying that in he's a critical way, but he was just pointing out what people were saying. Correct. That's all it was.
Correct.
But then Cena stepped up to him and said, "Ron Killings,
Yes.
if you say one more word," and then that's where he's like, "I'm just trying to say," and then that's where Cena grabs him, and then you see the FU through the table in the middle of a presser. And that's a presser that, I know Wrestling Online, we try to get media credentials to be able to be part of that crowd. And I can only imagine what it would have been like to have a media pass in St. Louis tonight, to have seen that happen after the match we just saw.
I mean, the video will be coming in here, I'm sure, on the X or the Twitter machine, whatever you call it. CZ, John Cena puts his spin on the press conference again. Last time it was just reading a prepared statement over and over again.
That sounds like a clickbait statement. I refuse to respond.
We're going to go that route. Is that what we're going to do? Or you're just saying what he said?
Close to what he said.
Anyways, but he puts a completely different spin on it tonight by putting his number one fan. It's all, you know what it is. He just reminded me, and I want to get your take on this, CZ, of like a smitten fan.
Yeah.
Overzealous fan and a band member or a rock star being like, "We're done. Get the out of here."
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me.
Wow.
So
Right.
But what's your take on Cena's spin on the presser? I mean, some people mix reviews with him turning heel, how he is being portrayed as a heel, but he is keeping us on our toes with these post conferences.
He very much is, and I I don't agree with some of the criticism that he gets for being a heel. I think he's doing a fantastic job. And, we talked before the main event, we'll get there, that if Travis Scott came out, I was going to walk out. I probably wouldn't have walked out, let's be serious. But here's the thing. I think Travis Scott's involvement in Mania was the right move. I didn't like it at the time, but reflecting back, it goes with John Cena's motive, his agenda to ruin wrestling for everyone.
How did he ruin? Okay, how did he ruin wrestling?
The referees, just a match that, at first it was kind of a throwback to a greatest hits kind of thing. Sure, you saw a lot of different moments, reversals, things that you've seen in the matches in 2000. From basically 2004 all the way up to tonight, and it's great because it started out like that, but then it descended into chaos. We were all talking about throughout the night, no referees, and then 3, 4 in that match alone, and so you throw all of that craziness into it. I think Cena's entire thing was, okay, I'm going to go out there, whatever match we have, it's intentionally it's not about the quality of the match. It's a fight, and refs are going to get hurt, and people are going to come out of the woodwork, and that's pretty much what happened. To the point where Nick Aldis,
it was a hit row of former independent wrestlers and backstage. It was
Jamie Noble. You had Shane Helms there. I thought I saw Tyler Breeze, and if that was him, he took the best RKO of all of them. Okay, he looked like he did like a pure wet. It was awesome. So kudos to him. But it was, and that's the thing. It goes back to Cody's match. It goes back to even Cena's involvement in the chamber. It wasn't a 5-star affair, that people talk about and write about online. It was, this match is just going into craziness, and Mania turned into craziness, right? And all of these things basically come together tonight. Turns into Ref Mania, turns into what we have now.
Absolutely. What was your take on John Cena ruining wrestling tonight?
For me, it didn't happen during the match. For me, it happened at the presser when he took out R-Truth.
Okay, well, I'm something here.
Because, building up, Truth has been seen with Randy Orton backstage several times. And, of course, but... Right. Even, I can see Truth being the next feud. Maybe that happens at Saturday night's main event. But here's why. If you remember, it was John Cena that really triggered the little Jimmy time frame for R-Truth. And did we ever really see a payoff of that?
They did headline a pay-per-view. It was a DC pay-per-view,
June 2011,
and that was some really dry times for WWE.
Yeah, well, that was right before the pipe bump.
Scraping.
Yeah. Right before the pipe bump. So this was a time frame where, I think, Truth was coming out and was kind of doing comedy segments, things like that. And this is it's still a funny Truth, and dude's always going to be a great, funny guy. It's a different dynamic with now he's going to be the underdog in this role. And Cena coming in as the champion. If they were to have something happen, Saturday night's main event, that's the perfect place for it. We could take this all the way to the June, we'll see.
Well, before we peel the levels off of this show and start discussing the matches, I just want to make this point. The show had no CM Punk. The show had no Roman Reigns. The show had no Cody Rhodes. The show had no Jey Uso. 4 pretty big stars there.
I'll give you a 5th. No Seth Rollins.
No Seth Rollins, correct. No Braun Breaker. No Heyman. No Rhea Ripley. No Io Sky. No Tiffany Stratton. Well, okay. And this show was phenomenal.
It really
I
delivered.
told you, a month ago before the build to this, that all these people would not be on it, and we would still get top to bottom a show that puts WWE, puts WrestleMania just in the very distant past, and now it's given optimism back. People are excited. It's their best show of the year so far. I know we're only into quarter 2 now. Getting into quarter 2 if you look at it, whatever, and they just put on a tremendous product with a 5-match card, and the Nick Bull of 10 years ago would have hated that idea, right?
Yeah.
Pre 2-day WrestleManias, you were used to having. We got 8 matches. We were thrilled. So
Sometimes overkill, where it was like 11, 12 matches. You still see that in some
and then you look at shows now. It's hard to get on WrestleMania. It's hard to get a Backlash pay-per-view, which isn't one of the major 4 or whatever, maybe 5 you want to call it. It's a B show. And for a B show, I thought we got an A+ in effort all around from all 5 matches tonight.
Oh, I don't disagree. I think you are correct. I mean, you are never wrong. So,
That's right.
got to point that out. He is never wrong, Nick Bull.
That's correct.
But no, top to bottom, even how the show was stacked. We talked before where we always kind of speculate where matches are going to go, who's going to start, who's going to be in the dead spot, so to speak. I would have booked it different going in, but coming out of it, I don't think I would have.
I thought they booked it perfect, and the match I thought would be in that dead spot, like when this card was announced, would be the women's match. But they put the Gunther and Pat McAfee match there. And it was really because whether or not it's labeled the dead spot, the spot right before the main event, like, wow. Like they had, that was like a great opener. I know it's the 4th match on the card, but it's like you'll see a great opener, man. And then we still got to make the event follow. That's what that match felt like. It really, really, really delivered. And we'll get to that match. I don't know where you guys want to start, but I just wanted to say, I made that comment of all the stars that were not on the show, how amazing this show was.
Yes.
How many performers total on the card there with these 5 matches?
You had
The
4-way, the 4-way, and then you had, what was the second match of
Lyra.
Becky, there's 2, there's 6.
6.
That's Dom.
That's 8.
Do you want to count the Judgment Day guys for making
No,
appearances?
it's just the people on the card. So that's basically
Gunther and Pat.
12.
So 12 people. 12 stars.
Yeah.
Plenty of backstage agents and some refs
Great cameos.
took their spots there in the main event and the Fallout
Judgment Day, side players.
Sure.
So there were, but in total, 12 people. And I think of like 2011 as an all-time example of one of the greatest shows of all time, based off of a 5 or 6 match card. Yeah, but I mean, 2 of those matches are running in the event, and then one of them is competency. So obviously, there's a big, the other matches, Big Show and Mark Henry, and then
Christian and Randy Orton.
there you go, world
Yep.
title change there.
Yep.
So 6-match card, and that's the thing is like this was a 5-match card, and it felt like, just from what I'd seen, the progression of the matches, it felt like they were building and building and building, rather than the classic formula you're talking about, where, and I feel like you'll see that on maybe 9 or 10-match cards, where you got to get that kind of dip in on that 9th match before you get to the main event. You'd seen that at like WrestleMania, 18 or something like that, where I think it was a women's triple threat match, or like there was a 4-way title match before you got to like the main events,
Sure.
And so like so I think that's exactly what you saw in that formula. But tonight, it built like this. It was meant to be the second biggest match on the card. Magazine go there. Yep. And then Cena and Orton, this was meant to be. This isn't going to open the show. You know, like I've seen that at Media's too, where it gets a little kind of cutesy, where like, okay, we're going to put Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins on as that very first match of Media 35. Sure, you know. But in this case, we're building, and we're going to crescendo at Cena Orton, and then just when we think we've crescendoed, Cena again another presser. You guys are talking about. He every time he does throws a curveball. That Rumble, he said, I'm going to be in the Elimination Chamber. You listen to it, right? And everything happened in the Chamber and beyond. But yeah, just what an unbelievable card with 12 people. And I mean, built.
While you're talking about Cena, let me ask both of you this. A lot of people were upset that we did not see an appearance from The Rock at WrestleMania. People were pissed because he started the storyline where Cena made his big turn, and then he just disappeared. Now that we're here, do we need him?
I always thought it'd be great to have him along for the ride. Not having him at Mania after he was the catalyst and had his hands all over it was kind of bad in poor taste, in my opinion. We got Travis Scott there. I mean, no offense to him, he pulled it with no physical threat to any wrestler on that roster. Rock is the boss, and of course he's the Rock. So for The Rock not being involved anymore, he's completely washed his hands of it.
It appears that way.
It appears that way. Not having any involvement tonight by anybody was awesome. I'm glad we didn't go that way.
Or we'll just say it was the classic route of agents.
Referees. No other wrestlers got involved.
Except for Truth.
And then that was the exclamation point to the whole thing.
Correct.
You build to, we had all these people come out. Now we've had Nick Aldis come out. Like, what else could happen? And I know it was one of us that threw it out there that said,
I think it was CZ,
the wizard himself, man, who mentioned
he
spoke into the ether, and dude, our truth came up, and my eyes just shot out of my head. But there was the build up to it, and that's what you mentioned, Nick, was that there was 2 weeks of truth just kind of getting in Orton's way, who knew it was going to cause the outcome?
In this day of oversaturation with the product, I think Netflix is, breathed some life into not having a 3-hour show cut it off at 2:15, 2:20, whatever. Tonight, with just those 3 matches, the time is so valuable. And it built and delivered
And that first hour just flew.
Show, I'll go back and watch top to bottom anytime now. It's that good of a show. Everything was good on it. And it just feels so good after it washes that bad taste out of your mouth in WrestleMania of how things went over the 2 nights combined or whatever. There was some very good matches. I mean, we had that women's match at WrestleMania and that women's match tonight. Maybe not as good as the one at WrestleMania, but boy, it was really good if you're into the Bret Hart type move for move stuff going on. Those two work really well together.
Hey, we are back, and I want to apologize. We are having some technical difficulties. If you've been tuning in live, thank you for sticking with us. I'm going to try and piecemeal the show together tomorrow because we do have the recording on here.
You call them technical difficulties. I'm calling it time travel.
Okay.
At least it's a time travel, guys.
We have defied this.
I'm getting acclimated back to where we were.
Okay.
Before everything went black, we were talking about Dominic and Penta, were we not?
We were.
Okay, so we were giving Dominic his flowers.
Yes.
I think the lingering question here is how long before Dominic becomes a face? Because that reaction tonight would lend you to believe that he was the face.
Yeah. Could he continue to walk that line? That is the question that I've kind of had. Again, going back to his personality, the way that he is, he's such a sweet guy that he could continue to, I don't want to say like Razor Ramon or Stone Cold, because that's really high bar.
It is.
But it's, There is this Eddie Guerrero type of element where he is, yes, he's lying, he's cheating, he's stealing, Judgment Day is involved. He's winning. He's a winner. And I think that when you look at Mania and you look at Backlash tonight, he beat Penta twice. Back-to-back pay-per-views.
You win at Mania, and then you win at the follow-up. And the follow-up is a smaller card, and you made that card. It says a lot to me.
Yes.
The reaction of the crowd says a lot to me. Like, there's so much more in store for him.
Yes. We got to cover, too, I think.
What's scary, I think, is when you think about Dom, if you're a Dom fan of him being a heel, is what's Dom life after Judgment Day going to look like? Because
that would be your babyface moment.
you're really comfortable with Dominic right now as uber heel, and how great he is at it, how swarmy and slimy he is.
We talked about the wishbone of the Judgment Day.
Yes.
Where are they going to split?
Yep.
When that bone splits,
Yep.
where are they going to go? And Balor might be the short end of it.
Yep.
And then Dom, JB, Carlito, and eventually Liv and Rock. Sure, they are going to be on that side. That's where Finn maybe finds the demon, finds an ally.
Finn starts to
AJ
show
Styles.
some cracks in the Judgment Day armor with the way he's acting, looking at Dom. I notice as Dom is backing up the aisle tonight with the belt. Finn kind of looks over his shoulder at him, like,
Sure.
longingly. But the payoff's gonna be so good.
Yes.
I just don't know, CZ, and maybe it's because I love him as a heel so much that I'm ready to see Dom go next.
Is he already there, though? That's the question I pose to you. With the reaction from the crowd, is he already there?
He didn't win like a face would, though.
True, but how often did Eddie Guerrero win like a face when he was a face?
Didn't win tonight. That wasn't like a face. Jacob Fatu.
Oh.
Straddles that line.
He is straddling that line. He may be straddling that line more than Dominic Mysterio is right now.
There's a scary element to it. Who's his father?
Maybe he's not right. It is Haku. No. Haku? Jacob Fatu?
You remember when he won the U.S. title?
I think Aku is his adopted father.
Okay.
I'm gonna look here.
I'm pretty sure. Isn't his father Umaga?
I thought it was Maga.
Oh, okay. Adopted father, biological father.
Correct. But he kind of same thing kind of happened there.
Yeah.
But is he a face though? I think he's walking that line because
difference, I guess. Whether it's Umaga,
I think he's walking that same line because
he's unpredictable. He's got, he's got the kind of the little bit of, a wild side.
His dad was Sam Fatu.
Oh,
Sonic Kid.
Sonic Kid.
Yep.
All right.
So that's his dad. So, anyways,
I appreciate that.
Jacob Fatu gets a pop when he comes out. We've seen that same boat as Dom now. Is he going to become? Because he wanted some help tonight and didn't look too gracious for it.
Let me tell you how it plays out in my head.
I want to hear it.
My head canon. We saw the appearance of Jeff Cobb. Did they name him? Did they drop his name? I don't think they did, but I don't remember.
I don't think they did.
So I wonder if he's getting a name change for his time in WWE.
That's going to be one thing I can't wait to watch because we were kind of proud for he showed up. There was a new debut tonight type of deal we were excited for. I don't know. Good question.
But you bring up the fact that don't feel bad.
That's what the replays are for. That's right.
That's right.
But you bring up that Jacob didn't look happy with the way that he won that match.
Right.
Well, we've all speculated that Solo is going to be the one to turn on him at some point and either cost him the title or take it from him.
Sure.
Jeff Cobb is now here to help Solo out.
Well, that's Solo's.
I mean, the commentary team made a point to say that Solo at one point said he did not have any soldiers left.
There you go.
The Tongas are out, whether they're nursing injuries or what have you.
He doesn't consider
They're equals at this point, in my opinion. He considers them equals, I think.
Solo considers them equals?
Jacob certainly does. I don't know if Solo. I think Solo's got a lot of jealousy. That's the dynamic there.
Exactly. Solo thinks he's far superior to Jacob Fox. Correct. Accept my gift of your free win here.
And
my new muscle.
And now that he has a soldier again, and Jacob is not happy with how he won that match, you got to think that the turn is coming sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
Quite so. We know the WWE does have a very packed schedule coming up. We'll run down a little bit. But what did you think, CZ? Number one, Nick Bull, CZ, our friend Kyle Tobias from wrestling-online.com. Contributed there for us, longtime friend of the show, and both of us.
Powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Modeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. There we go. Got your plugs in.
Got him in. Wow. You like the micro machines, man, from back in the day.
Oh, my.
Yeah, you do that reference.
Oh, my.
Anyways, what did you think of how that show opened? Because I thought that's the match that should have started. I thought the show was stacked perfect.
Yeah.
And all four of those guys, I dig and enjoy. I dig Damon Priest. I really worry about Damon Priest. I dig Drew, and I dig Jacob Fatu. But I worry about what is the future look like for Damon Priest.
I think for the short term, he's going to be okay because he's still got that lingering feud with Drew. And that's going to keep him elevated for now.
Okay.
Once that feud with Drew ends,
Tonight.
yes.
Drew took a hard bump and hit the floor very, very hard. And that can hopefully maybe Punk can be elevated to what the Drew Punk thing did for both those guys. That will happen for Drew and Priest.
Could be really cool.
That's where I hope it
A
goes.
final chapter with those two, where whether maybe this is where Damien beats Priest,
Sure.
Damien beats Drew,
Sure.
and it gives him that kind of, like you said, that elevation. But I think they're both kind of equals here. In a way, it's Drew who's ultimately seeking the revenge for
For sure.
So, I mean, but it would be a nice little thing where, hey, you know what, let's do a 3-chapter thing and get to a place where they are seen as, they're both lifted by what they have together.
I want to ask you, because you're the biggest fan of this guy out of us three, what's next for LA Knight?
Oh, I knew that's where you were going.
I know, and I wanted to ask you because you are the guy who likes LA Knight the most. Not saying I don't like him, but I know you like him, a considerable amount. What's next for him?
I think we need to wait and see if and when the draft happens. I know they're talking about the draft. We haven't announced it, but I could see him moving to Raw and going into the Intercontinental picture. If he stays on SmackDown and they don't put him back in the world title picture, at least for a little bit, I'm sorry, buddy. Creative has nothing for you. Take a seat for a little bit.
He's gonna go hang out with Mello and Miz.
Yeah.
They're together now.
I saw that. I like that kind of thing. I mean, this Miz had a great promo on SmackDown. It all kind of led to Aleister Black, kind of taking over there.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's what we're talking about with Drew. Miz is there. He wants. Mello may not need the help, but those two first working together, and then maybe they split up, and then they have a series.
They'll have something, right?
Mello. Everybody remembers the Mello Andrade series.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when you get, this is the way for Miz to maybe get a falling out. Like you get Mello, and then Mello beats Miz. I just beat a WrestleMania main eventer.
Right.
I'm one step closer to what I want to be.
I'm gonna be legit honest with you guys. You mentioned on Friday, I was watching SmackDown last night and completely forgot he was going down.
It stinks.
It's not distant.
I know.
Oh, yeah, he is still on the roster.
It's like I said, I feel like he's the part of the jokes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not fair. And I feel like the guy that maybe with the AAA position is to have what he's equal to Zack Ryder, you know, eventually make his way on to the Olympics and built himself, right, his real name, and, you know, was able to amass, you know, belts and different promotions and have these angles where, you know,
The absolute poster child of the indie, like of totally making the indie hero,
yes,
and never having to work again for the big company he wants.
no,
He makes his own schedule.
Yeah.
We're talking about Matt Cardone here. He's got a podcast. He's got a toy line. He's got a follower. Right? You know what? Where he makes his own schedule, he knows where he wants to get. Like he's winning.
Yeah.
He's married to Chelsea Green.
Oh, God.
He's winning. Okay.
A big one.
But I want to get to this next match because it's the one match we haven't talked about. It's the one match I was looking forward to the most. Another fan, Pat McAfee. And I believe it was you early in the night, Kyle, that did say this. I think it was you. If it wasn't correctly, who said it? This match felt like the pressure or the expectations were put on Gunther, like the expectations were put on Damian Priest, and he took on Bad Bunny.
Yeah, Backlash.
At Backlash in
2023.
Puerto Rico.
Correct.
Yep, in 2023.
That was a great match, and that had a lot of runs. That's what was kind of nice about this match. I don't call it runs. I know Michael Cole had his involvement, but I really enjoyed the ring. I like the build up to it, and then the execution tonight. Yeah, it was. I think there was a lot of pressure on Gunther because, you know, Pat is, as we talked about, this is akin to Mike Tyson. This is akin to Pete Rose, your ESPN moment, so to speak. And so the pressure being on Gunther to deliver a great match. I mean, Wizard, you saw it yourself, man. Pat McAfee went above and beyond to tell a story, and Gunther carried him every step of the way, called that whole thing, and it was, I mean, really well above expectations.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. And McAfee, I was not a fan when he first came in at NXT, but that was the point. You weren't supposed to be a fan when he came in and was going up against Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era. Yeah. I'm sure many other people will say this too. He grew on me. You know, he's a phenomenal commentator, and he's a fan. He loves the business.
Yeah, and the fans can see through it.
And there were other commentators in the past.
And they've taken the welcome him with open arms. Everybody loves Pat McAfee, right? And I think everybody's gonna love him a lot more after this match because it was a brutal beat. But at the same time, Pat McAfee never looked like a fool.
Right.
I think it's credit to Gunther for never really hitting that fifth gear and making Pat look like he had no business being out there. Like Pat looked like he belonged. Pat was in the fight of his life, and it looked believable. And that's the best part about this. That like it was believable.
They built towards, early in the match. It was the way the wrestling match should, which is where he kind of fighting for his life to get these one counts. And as the match goes on, and he's not quitting, and he's defiant all the way to the end, and he gets closer and closer to the point where that 2 count, 2.9. He finally got a 2.9 out of it. And to me, if you can get a 2.9 on a world champion, former world champion,
Right.
You took him to the limit, and you even saw that too at the end.
He did.
And it was, it was not something that. If you watched the ending, you saw Luther put McAfee in a sleeper, and McAfee, he gave him, for lack of a better word, helped up, and then brother, and then but then eventually, Gunther put him away, in the middle of the ring. But McAfee never tapped. Correct. And he never quit. He never surrendered. And
They kept him strong, brother.
that's exactly the idea.
Yeah.
And again, we were talking about folk hero status after a match, after a beatdown, in a losing effort. Steve Austin lost that submission match.
Yeah.
Lyra Valkyria in a winning effort. I mean, came out again, could be folk hero status. And I think Matt could be the same thing in a losing effort.
You know who's got folk hero status here? That's the Wizard.
I do?
You do.
How did that happen?
Hey, we're getting this show on, brother. The show goes on. This is the Card Subject Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan, of course. I'm Never Wrong with Bull, joined by my tag team partner, the Wizard CZ, our longtime friend, brother Kyle Tobias from the wrestling-online.com, a contributor to that. Let's put a bow on Backlash, letter grades, and then let's talk the upcoming WWE schedule before we wrap this puppy up.
Solid A.
I'm gonna say, because I would have given Mania probably maybe an A-.
Yeah.
So I'll put this at about an A-, I would say.
Okay.
But amongst the best, shows of the year so far, especially doing so much with so little, and just again, exceeding the expectations, and it's going to be Amazing 17, Great American Bash 89, Money in the Bank 11 status. Maybe not, but you know what? It's going to be one of those little pockets of time that during a time where people had mixed feelings about what came out of Mania, here comes this soaring eagle, this show, Backlash.
It's going to be, I give it a solid A. I think it's the best show. I think it's the best show they've put out all year. I think it's a show that it's going to be very rewatchable. 5 matches. It comes in under 3 hours. It also helps on those nights when there's UFC shows that go on right as
that are happening.
They're going on as we record this right now here live on the For Frequency's Sake Network. I loved it. I am looking forward to going back and watching this, of course. The best part was sitting down and hashing it out with you guys. What's the WWE schedule look like here? Because this is we're beginning of May, technically. We still got a if you want to be technically.
Next thing up on the docket is 2 weeks from now, Saturday night's main event.
Saturday night's main event, we do have Jey Uso and Logan Paul. Is that official? Or unofficial?
That's official.
It's official for it. Okay, that's 2 weeks from now. Following that, we have Worlds Collide.
Before that, right after main event, is NXT Battlegrounds.
Ooh, okay, very good. Memorial Day weekend, NXT Battleground, same day as, of course, AEW Double or Nothing. After Battleground, we have Worlds Collide, Money in the Bank, same day. Is there a Saturday night's main event after that?
I'd have to look. Let me.
Okay, because the end of after Money in the Bank. Oh my goodness! After Money in the Bank, then goes to Saudi.
Yes.
And then Saudi goes to the all-women show on July 5th. Evolution 2. Electric Boogaloo, the remix.
There's not a Saturday night's main event in June.
Okay.
June 28th is Night of Champions in Saudi. July 5th, Evolution, the all women's pay-per-view, I believe. At least that's what's on there on the schedule I'm looking at.
Yep.
And then the next Saturday night's main event is July 12th, a week after that.
A lot to take place before SummerSlam.
My own personal hope is that whoever wins it, I don't really want to do like a Damien Priest or a Tiffany Stratton thing. Let's put a same night cash in. Let's do the next Saturday night cash in. Let's get that cat out of the bag. And let's have it at a party in SummerSlam. Because I think if you can load that card up, we've already got the IC women's title book.
Sure we do.
Yeah. And I feel like You think Jay will take that world title all the way to SummerSlam?
I don't.
Okay, so then maybe he cashes in there. You know, Dom could lose the Intercontinental title. Right. Any kind of combination could happen. But I think somebody that we're not expecting is going to ascend in the next coming month or two.
Can't wait.
And you get that combination with like Cena taking on all these classic opponents.
Yep.
You get a great blend of old school, new school, and the future is bright. I'll be watching every Monday.
Same.
And then I'm going to get my bloodline family line right.
I still get
If you're listening, I'm sorry.
You need to memorize that tree.
That's what
like
it
the
is.
periodic table of elements.
I know Gary Albright's in there somewhere.
I'm telling you right now, chemistry was strong here. So
3 toughest years of my life, algebra too. So there you go.
other than that, I thought it was an excellent show, an excellent time. Looking forward to what comes next coming out of this.
Yes. Speaking of what comes next, for us, next weekend is a busy weekend. I don't know what your schedule looks like quite yet. I will be in Waterloo on Saturday for the 5th pre-show podcast party, co-hosted by Jason Prentice, since our good friend Zach Takis is going to be in Oskaloosa, where Central Empire has a show. We'll also 3.
Yep.
I will also mention that our boys here in town, the SCW Pro, have a show that Saturday. Neither of us will be in attendance for that just because we have busy schedules. No offense to SCW Pro. While we're talking about next weekend, the reason we don't know your schedule is because I want to give a shout out to Landon Bull, who will be graduating this weekend.
Yeah, graduation next Sunday. It's crazy. So, I don't know what time went. It really fast, but we're having a good time with it. So, yeah, graduation next Sunday. I may or may not be on that show. Definitely won't be in Waterloo, but we'll be back on.
We've got Sunday, which if you're there, if you can make it, great. If not, totally understandable. Current Absolute Pro Wrestling champion, whether he is still holding that title Sunday, Mr. Aaron Von Baron, has a big match that's this coming Saturday, a week from today, as we record this, against Shank, Brandon the Shank Eubanks. Whether Aaron is still holding that title when we talk to him on Sunday, we'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe if he loses the belt, I won't come on. If he wins, I'll come on. Just let you handle that room.
Ooh. Yeah.
Real quick, if I may just mention that.
No.
Nope.
No, go ahead.
Real quick, next weekend I will be at SICW FanFest 3 in St. Louis. Yes. Yep. So just a quick shout out to those guys. Yep. The Bruiser Brody Memorial Weekend is at one time what it was called, but yeah, now it's SICW FanFest 3. All kinds of great legends are going to be there. I see Brutus Beefcake right there on the wall.
Who's there that you haven't met yet?
Oh gosh, rock and rolls. Who else? I've not met Brutus. It's been 9 years since I've seen Sabu.
Sure.
He and I had a great time at Nashville back in 2016. I don't remember it, but there are.
If Sabu's involved, I don't know if you wouldn't.
Yeah, right. There's a handful of other names. I'd have to look at the entire list, but I'm really looking forward to seeing a bunch of names from yesterday and be able to catch the card with SICW. And it's going to be a great weekend. The Dom will be there. And this is just kind of a taste of things to come. You mentioned Waterloo.
Of course, Waterloo will be here July
18th through the 20th.
18th to the 20th. Yep.
Coming right around the corner.
We got it.
Oh, absolutely.
Best weekend ever.
It is.
Shout out to the Connecticut Connection.
Yeah. If you're watching, Connecticut Connection.
I hope you are. You better be.
See those boys again. But
We have one other show next week as well, or the following at this point. We are talking with a young man from, well, he might not be super young. We're talking with a wrestler from South Dakota.
he's younger than us.
He's a little younger. He's younger than us.
You're a young man if you're younger than us.
Fair. He is. His name is Sean O'Reilly.
Okay.
He's known as the Angel of Death, if I'm if I'm remembering correctly. If I'm not, I apologize, Sean. I don't have the graphic in front of me. I've already got it made. It's in the can. So we'll start hyping that officially next week. But
he's the angel of death. You messed up his name. You better put like blood on your door post. The angel of death. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to. You said from South Dakota.
yes,
So we've made a connection in South Dakota. So I'm glad to have them come on and talk about. I want to know what the wrestling scene's like in South Dakota.
yeah.
Never been to a South Dakota show. I've been to South Dakota. It's a beautiful state. It's unbelievable.
Would I be surprised if he's getting work like in places like Minneapolis?
Could be for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
And yes, the angel of death. I just looked at the graphic. I cheated.
You got it right.
I cheated.
It's all right. It's all right. Anything else to say before we wrap things up here from the Highview Lounge and Studios?
No. Not unless you have something.
Yes.
Can we watch some Black Scorpion right now?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm looking for it right now. CZ, take us home. I'm going to look for some Black Scorpion, huh?
Oh my.
Yeah, when it was out for that.
Our night's just beginning. It's going to get wild, but for Card Subject to Change, that is it for us. We will see you. I will see you next Saturday from Waterloo and next Sunday with Aaron Von Baron. For my partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. This is the podcast by the fan for the fan. Card Subject to Change, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. We'll see you next week right here on Card Subject to Change.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.